Welcome back to the official podcast home of the Association for Materials Protection and Performance. I'm Ben Dubose, news editor with the AMP publications team. AMP, of course, is the shorthand acronym for the association. And as far as the publications, we've got three distinct brands and outlets. That's Coatings Pro Magazine, Materials Performance Magazine, and Corrosion Journal. All are housed within our publications group. As far as AMP, the big story for us is that we recently wrapped up the 2026 AMP Annual Conference and Expo. Held in late March in Houston, it was a record-setting show with more than 6,300 attendees and over 350 exhibitors, including 72 exhibitors that were brand new and also 13 new sponsors. Houston is home to one of AMP's global headquarters, so we were absolutely thrilled to be able to welcome so many people to our backyard. And then as far as AMP publications, one of the brand new offerings for us at this year's conference was our AMP Media Studio. It was basically a recording studio inside the larger AMP booth at the exhibit hall. And so what we did there, we brought in and interviewed a handful of leaders within both the association as well as the broader industries and markets that we serve. Topics of discussion included highlights of the show, industry trends, feedback from the market, as well as a few random things that are unique to each person's background. So throughout the month of April, what we're doing here on this channel is playing back those one-on-one exclusive interviews that we taped from the show. We may also use some of those quotes in future articles within our print publications or on the websites, so please stay tuned for that. But the first step is publishing the interviews and letting you all take a listen, and so that's what we're doing right now. Let's roll the tape. Ben Dubose, news editor, AMP Media, joined by Ken Seal, Deputy Director, IFTI. Ken, thanks so much for stopping by the podcast booth here on the show floor at the 2026 AMP Annual Conference and Expo. How's the show treating you?
The show is going good this year. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your role with the IFTI, the IUPAT. What does your general day-to-day look like?
So I have a few different roles. One of my main roles is covering the industrial paint sector, U.S. and Canada, making sure our training centers have the equipment and material needed to make sure our future workforce is trained.
Yeah. Well, you were telling me offline before we pushed record that you're based in Las Vegas, but you basically consider yourself based all over North America because of the extent you travel on behalf of members and the people you represent, right?
Yeah, I say I live in Las Vegas, but I have to correct myself. I think I just have a house there.
So what do you do working and advocating on their behalf? How does that work?
So it's really making sure that our future generation has the tools and equipment to be successful in life.
Yeah.
You know, we get the industry and we know that we have to protect our infrastructures and stuff from corrosion. I get all that stuff. But it's really about having that workforce that's well-trained, that can actually have a family, have a career, send their kids to college and all that stuff. So I advocate a couple sides of that to make sure that they have the means to support a family, but the tools and equipment to make sure our infrastructures are done correctly.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting week to have this conversation because obviously workforce development is a huge part of the 2026 AMP conference. It's a huge point of emphasis. You can see in our booth the talent force over there. That's the new AMP initiative. From your perspective, other than the obvious of compensation, because I think that goes without saying, what are the keys to making this industry attractive to both the current workforce and the future workforce?
You know, I think it's not one-sided there. I think it's going to be from the parents, all the way down to their kids, getting them while they're early. College is a great route for a lot of folks, but you can make a really good amount of money in this trade that we do. And there's a lot of different fields in this trade, not just the applicator itself, but there's, the engineer side, company owner side. There's so many avenues you can go to be successful in what we do. But I just do not think that the public itself knows enough.
So what's the solution to rectifying that? Is it awareness campaigns? Is it being, out face-to-face, meeting people and engaging? What do you see as the potential solution?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's being in front of the school counselors and explaining what we do there, because a lot of times they're on I get so many credits for putting somebody in college. I think that, we have to look at that. We have to be face-to-face with the public. We have to be in the communities, especially these communities that are struggling. Be in front of them to show them that there's careers out there, that their kids in those communities can succeed. I think there's a little bit of everything, but we have to be out there, not just in one group, but all of us have to be out there speaking the same language.
Yeah. How can organizations like IFTI, IUPAT, AMP, how can these industry bodies work together to enhance those efforts?
So it's like today. We had a contractors meeting earlier today that we're sitting in. The room was packed, and we were having some great conversations in there. I think those conversations need to continue. I do think that AMP needs to include more at their annual conference, like we're at today. Include the workforce in it. Bring the workforce in. We're in Houston, Texas. There is a workforce here. They should invite that workforce in here, especially that younger generation, just to see what this is all about, because they know how to blast and spray, but they don't see the big industry like it is.
That meeting you had earlier, what do contractors want to know? Just, what are some of their, I guess, common questions when they talk to, AMP reps and the other folks leading the session?
Well, off the bat, they want to make sure that they're part of AMP. They're part of what the decision making is. They're part of all that stuff because, the contractors are backbone to AMP. A lot of stuff that they do out there. And, the contractors also have concern about the training and coming up, but they want to make sure that the training is done correctly and it's done fairly, and that our members are getting what they get with the money that's being put in.
How important is it to have, collaborative relationships across the value chain? Obviously, we've been talking about the workforce, but, you look at these booths and there's a lot of manufacturers out there. There's a lot of, equipment providers, but their coatings, their equipment are only as good as the folks that are actually using it in the field. How do you make the connection to where everybody sees, the importance of investing in the workforce, that they're properly trained and they're ready to actually apply these systems?
We're walking the floor here and we're talking to everybody that's on the floor. We're getting the connections that we need. It was brought up in the meeting today, and I think it was a great question because it was brought up in the meeting today that they need to see more of the workforce equipment here, big compressors, dust collectors, and all that other stuff that was on the worker side or their field side. The contractors brought that up and wanted to see more of that here at these events.
Yeah. We talked about making the workforce, well, certainly retaining the workers that you had and making it more attractive for industry newcomers. For those folks that are out in the field getting their hands dirty right now, what are their common pain points, questions, challenges? What in 2026 is, really driving concerns on their front?
Well, they follow everything like everybody else does, right? And it's really about having the work out there, having money that's going in the infrastructure that should be going in these infrastructures, but making sure that, we're keeping that standard higher, that bar high for the industrial, and that includes training. That includes that, they got these skills and they're trained to do these skills. But really, is the money going into the infrastructure? And are they going to have work tomorrow? That's, as a worker, that's their main concern. Are they going to have work when they wake up?
Yeah. And to that end, what's new in 2026? What are the market sectors that you see, driving investment and driving potential projects?
You got a lot of data centers, but that's almost like a one-shot thing. You go in there, you do it. There's not much activity in there. They are talking about the bridges and stuff like that. The need for bridges. We see a little bit going into that. And we should start seeing some money coming into the power industry. Water's been a big talk, but right now you see a lot of the data centers being built, a lot of money going into the data centers. And we don't know what's going to come out because they have to supply their own energy now. They have to supply their own water. Mm-hmm. But again, that work doesn't have much maintenance behind it.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And I should have spelled out the acronyms earlier. AMP obviously stands for Association for Materials Protection and Performance. IUPAT, International Union of Painters and Allied Trades. IFTI, International Finishing Trades Institute, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
So tell us a little bit more about the IUPAT and IFTI and where you all fit in within the broader ecosystem.
So the IUPAT deals a lot with our contractors going out there and explaining what we do to, the non-union sector and the union sector, and explaining the value of what the union can offer those particular companies. So really going out there and dealing with the company side, you're dealing with the political side and the government side and all that stuff. And then when you look at the IFTI, the International Finishing Trades Institute, it's all about training, making sure our people are equipped and prepared to do the job they're asked to do. I mean, really, I look at it, we offer a career, and you can raise a family up if you're educated to do it the right way.
And you mentioned the union component. What are the benefits there from someone that's potentially looking at union representation? What does the IUPAT, what do you guys do for them in terms of, advocacy and other efforts?
I think we navigate that market that's out there. We look at the potential pitfalls and all that stuff. And I think one of the hugest values that, we can offer as a union contractors is training. That I think we're the best of the best out there. We got some top-notch facilities, and we stay on top of the market. We can, definitely make a company successful with the training and the personnel that we give them out there. Yeah, for sure.
100%. What's on your schedule the rest of the week? What are the highlights moving forward?
Well, I'm actually the one that's in charge of making sure the crew is running the booth, right? But I got a Master Painters Institute, which is a commercial site, QP9 and that. So I'm going to go up there right after this and go to that meeting upstairs here and, listen to what the commercial side has. But really introducing myself and talking with the contractors that are here and that are on the floor because, they really need to know what we do and know that we're here to help.
Absolutely. Folks, he is Ken Seal with the IFTI and IUPAT. I'm Ben Dubose, Amp Media. Ken, thanks so much for stopping by the booth and taking the time.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, that will do it for this interview from the 2026 AMP Annual Conference and Expo. But please stay tuned throughout the month of April because we've got quite a few of these that we're going to be debuting on our AMP and Coatings Pro podcast channels. Our hope is that the information and insights from these conversations will ultimately benefit our readers, association members, and the industry as a whole. And beyond the podcast channels, don't forget to check out our print publications, our social media pages, and our websites for Coatings Pro Magazine, Materials Performance Magazine, and Corrosion Journal. All of those brands are housed within our AMP Publications family, and we'll have lots of great exclusive content from the show coming out in the days and weeks ahead. Just stick with us and we'll have more to come. Anyway, that will do it for today. On behalf of our entire editorial team, I'm Ben Dubose, news editor for the AMP Publications Group. We appreciate you so much for checking out this interview, and please come back soon for more exclusive coverage of the 2026 AMP Annual Conference and Expo.